Excellencies, dear members of the IPCC family, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good night. It is a honor and a pleasure for me, as Vice Chair of the IPCC, to open this IPCC outreach event at the Boğaziçi University in Istanbul. I am sorry I have not been able to join you physically, as I have a very heavy schedule ahead of the bureau elections for the IPCC in Dubrovnik a month from now, less than 1,000 kilometers from here. I regret even more I cannot be with you, as you are in the physics department, and that is also where I am speaking from, at the Louvain-la-Neuve University in the physics department. I understand decision makers, experts and stakeholders from Turkey and many neighboring countries are present, and that is good. Thank you. Thanks to the Turkish authorities and all those who contributed to the success of this event for their hospitality and their efforts. The IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, is a unique organization. It was created in 1988 to do something even more original than additional research on climate change. It was created by the United Nations to assess the state of knowledge about the different dimensions of the climate change issue in the most rigorous, objective and transparent manner. Its mandate is to provide policymakers with quality information about the scientific, technical and socio-economic aspects related to climate change, its impacts and options for adaptation and mitigation. A very important aspect of the IPCC work is that it must be policy relevant, that is, useful to policy making, but it must be neutral with respect to policy. The need to be policy relevant without being prescriptive means that the IPCC authors cannot recommend choices on the basis of particular value judgments. Policy makers are chosen for that purpose, and IPCC authors should refrain from invading their terrain. What IPCC authors must do instead is to deal objectively with scientific, technical and socio-economic factors relevant to the application of particular policies, so that policymakers are fully informed. The IPCC is an intergovernmental body which has 195 member countries, essentially like the UN. Its main products are the assessment reports published every 5 to 7 years. The report you will hear about today is the fifth one in a series. It's called AR5 in our jargon, the assessment report number 5. It was produced in 3 parts because there are 3 working groups in IPCC. The first one deals with the physical and natural science aspects of climate change. The second deals with impacts, vulnerability and adaptation, while working group 3 deals with mitigation, that is, how to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. More than 800 lead authors from all over the world, including many authors from this region, have contributed to the AR5, and you will hear today from some of them. I hope, by the way, the next round of IPCC assessment will include even more scientists, men and women, from this region, and from more disciplines, including the social sciences, which are very important, as a broad participation in the scientific authorship of IPCC reports is very important for the relevance of the information assessed and for the sense of ownership of the reports. The assessment the IPCC prepares is mostly based on peer-reviewed scientific literature. the review process of the draft IPCC reports is an essential part of the IPCC process. More than 140,000 comments have been collected and processed by the authors of the AR5 so that it really represents a top quality product. You will hear much more about the content of AR5 and how it relates to this region in particular, but I'd like to take a bird's view of its key messages. The first key message is that human influence on the climate system is clear. There is no ambiguity there, and it means humans can do something about it. The second message is that continued emissions of greenhouse gases will increase the likelihood of severe, pervasive, and irreversible impacts for both people and ecosystems. That means we better do something, taking into account the fact that the poor everywhere are the most vulnerable to climate change. The third key message is that while climate change is a threat to sustainable development, there are many opportunities to integrate mitigation, adaptation, and the pursuit of other societal objectives. And I think this is good news. It gives hope. It shows there are ways to mitigate and adapt to climate change that allow other priorities, sometimes more urgent, to be addressed. This is particularly important this year in the context of the soon-to-be adopted by the UN General Assembly SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals. In a nutshell, the ultimate message of the AR5 is that humanity has, I repeat, the means to limit climate change and to build a more sustainable and resilient future. This is very important to remember ahead of the Paris conference in December, COP21. I am confident all this will become much more concrete for you today, thanks to this outreach event in Istanbul. I wish you an excellent dialogue with the IPCC scientists who came here, and I look forward to hear from the IPCC Secretariat representatives in Istanbul the suggestion you may have expressed so that the IPCC becomes even better in the future. Thank you very much for your attention. Teşekkür ederim.